трансляцию на YouTube, правильно?
Все верно.
Окей. Ну что ж, тогда у нас сегодня встреча будет на английском языке. Да, сразу вижу у нас вопросы. Да, запись у нас будет. У нас есть стрим на YouTube, тоже запись у нас останется. Ну что ж, давайте начнем наш замечательный вебинар. Hello everyone, we are glad to welcome you at our special SPE Young Professionals webinar. Energy industry outlook, what does that actually mean? So, well, it's not a secret that the energy industry is on transition way, and however, demand for oil and gas is still high and seems to be significant for decades. But what are the current important trends and factors that drive oil and gas industry on the way towards its future? What image of the industry can we expect? So let's discuss industry trends and assume forecasts and strategies up until 2035. My name is Yaroslava, I'm SPE Regional Activities Manager, and today we will discuss energy industry outlook developed by young professionals. Please welcome our speakers. Ivan Saushkin is a senior analyst at Gazprom Neft based in St. Petersburg. He works in the Department of Strategy and Innovations. Ivan's work activities are concentrated around analysis of global oil and gas market. Vasil Gimazedinov is a project coordinator at Gazprom Neft STC, working in well engineering. The scope of his activity is the optimization of current drilling ops, analysis, risk estimation, and reduction, efficiency growth in all stages of oil and field development. Currently, he's an active member of cross-functional team working on development of residual oil reserves. Aidar Nazimudinov is a chief specialist at Gazprom Neft CDC. His major is reservoir engineering. The scope of his activity is the optimization of oil field development system, analysis of production, factor analysis, reservoir simulation, and efficiency growth in all stages of oil field development. And our moderator today is Artem Shpakov. He is direction manager at Gazprom Neft Shelf based in St. Petersburg, whose work activities are concentrated around offshore E&P technology development. So today we're hosting not a simple webinar, but discussion. So please feel free to ask your questions or chat, or if you prefer to ask in voice, please raise your hand. Our meeting is recorded and streamed through YouTube. So if you watched us, please feel free to use YouTube chat for questions. I hope you all will enjoy your time. So let's start. Artem, good evening. How are you doing?
Artem, we can hear you.
I'm sorry. Thank you very much, Yaroslav. Good evening. Thank you very much for this introduction. I welcome all our guests of today's webinar. So we decided to invite you for this kind of discussion. And the main question today is what will be the future of Russian oil and gas industry tomorrow? Because we have now a different world in terms of energy transition and unconventional upstream developments. So we, a small team of colleagues of 15 people, we gathered together to try to develop our own forecast about what we can expect in the Russian oil and gas industry until 2035. Just a few words about our team. So we chose a very cross-functional approach. So we have different specialists in our team that deals with different parts of oil and gas business. So in this way, we could build a big picture of the industry and to try to make the most robust, most interesting forecast. Today, we have only 3 speakers of the team. Vasil couldn't join us, but still we have fewer speakers. That's at the same time we presenting this forecast on behalf of the whole team. So why should we talk about this topic? Why should we talk about oil and gas industry forecast? This is why. This is because we have very volatile market today. This is because we have different world processes regarding energy transition. So if you look at the projections, if you look at the history of oil, coal, natural gas, and so on, if you look at the consumption, so we see that coal now is have some kind of stagnation, and the same we can see that maybe this is also the start for stagnation for oil consumption. At the same time, we see natural gas consumption rising, and renewables just at the early stage of the development. So maybe we will have some booming development in the coming years. And in our belief, in our team, we believe that nevertheless, we will have still a high level of oil consumption in the world. So even if it can, even it can be declining, but at the same time, it will be still high. And for Russian oil and gas industry, it's even more important because the biggest part of a Russian budget is consists of oil and gas industry revenues. So we try to see what are the main trends, main perspectives in Russian oil and gas industry, and we'll talk today only about few of them, but maybe one of the most important ones. So I will let the floor to Aidar to continue with some of the trends.
Yeah, thank you, Artem. Please look at the screen. Despite the increase in production, we are declining in production of conventional oil, and the share of unconventional oil is steadily growing. As you can see in the first diagram, there is a downward trend in production from conventional reservoirs, which is offset by an increase in production from hard-to-recover and unconventional reservoirs. Let's try to tell you why this is happening. Artem, please, next slide. The stock tank oil in place quality is continuously decreasing. The sizes of reservoirs are getting lower and lower. The pore sizes are getting lower and lower. The permeability of the currently developed fields is about from 0.1 to 1 millidC, and the depth of oil occurrence is become lower and lower. However, this process isn't nova. Next slide, please. Oil industry has this trend for a long time. However, with current economic microparameters, we deal with reservoirs on the edge of profitability. And today, almost 2/3 of Russian oil reserves are hard to recover. 2 slides before, Artem, please. Backwards. Thank you. By 2035, total world production from unconventional reservoirs will range from 4 to 9.1 million barrels per day. And production from unconventional reservoirs in Russia by 2035 will reach the level of between 30 up to 50 million tons of petroleum per year. And the main driver for the development of unconventional reservoirs is the development of technologies. As a result, their cost reduction. Thus, one of the keys to access these reservoirs is the development of technologies in consortia of companies, plus universities and research centers, as well as government support. And we conducted a deeper analysis and identified the most significant potential risks for the industry. Let me give the floor to my colleague Ivan. Ivan, continue, please.
Thank you. Hello, everyone. Nice to meet you. Nice to hear. To research, to forecast Russian oil industry, our team conduct risk analysis for the Russian oil industry. We checked out the survey of industry experts. As a part of this survey, we conduct the top 5 risks. The top risk is green tax induction for imported products, including Russian oil and gas. You know, it's a hot topic right now in the world, green tax, green economy, and etc., something like this. So the second one risk is oil and gas business profitability decrease due to reduction of oil price and net cost increase. The one is oil price drop due to oversupply and low demand condition. The next risk is intensive expansion of the market for renewable energy sources. And the top 5 risk is environmental disasters, for example, oil spills. So based on these risks, our team made a forecast for the developing oil industry. We noted these risks. So Artem, please, next slide. So to assess possible scenarios for the development of world and Russian oil industry, we used estimates of world oil demand from International Energy Agency. On this slide, you can see several scenarios of the agency. The highest scenario is a pre-pandemic scenario. You know, it's very optimistic right now. And blue scenario is assessment of demand while maintaining the current policies of states. And the low scenario is the EIA estimate of demand and the decarbonization conditions. So we used these scenarios, blue and green scenario, to forecast our outlook, our Russian industry. Artem, please, next slide. To see possibilities of Russia and world oil market, global oil market, we assessed the possible of level production in other countries and different regions, for example, USA, Europe, Asia, South America, as well as production of natural gas, liquids, gas, condensate, biogas, and other liquids. For each block of this model, we build separate estimates and forecast. We have US oil, tight oil production model. We have model of Europe, Asia, and South America oil production. So we used this model to estimate how it can impact on Russian oil production in the future. So Artem, please, next slide. So based on our model, we have received various scenarios of Russian oil industry. And according to our estimate, oil production in Russia in 2035 may be in the range from 8 to 11 billion barrels per day. And in our assessment, there are 3 important times for the industry. The first one is production recovery to pre-pandemic levels. The second one is production level volatility from low scenario to highest scenario. And the third one, time period, is transforming of oil industry. So on the base of our outlook, we try to make some recommendations for the industry development and strategy. So Artem, please. Artem, we can hear you.
Okay. Thank you. So after we made these kind of calculations and scenario developments, we then tried to make our conclusions about what are the key developments and what are our proposals for the industry. What should we focus on, and what is happening, what kind of processes are the most important in the industry. And we tried to make projections divided to 3 different terms. It's let's start with the short term, near term projection. So at this period of time, we think that production recovery should have place, and the oil and gas demand will rise as we recover from the pandemic, from this oil crisis. So and oil and gas companies should be ready to increase their production when necessary. At the same time, even before pandemic, there were many projects that started in terms of digital transformation, and we see that pandemic actually stimulated them to develop faster, to be more intensive, and many companies, in spite of shortage of budgets and so on, they tried to continue these digital transformation programs, and we can project that these projects will lead to massive efficiency enhancement, but not only this kind of projects, but also lean production, implementation, automation, and different other means of cost optimization. So this is very important during this period of time. It's that we called near term, until 2025. Also, we think that there will be some modernization of assets, and there will be some measures made on the way to decarbonization. We will probably start to develop some carbon capture and storage infrastructure. And at the same time, we believe that our countries should invest into diversification of oil and gas transportation routes. So basically, further developing LNG transportation and building oil tankers. The second period of time we called midterm. We think that at this period of time we'll see production level volatility because of the unstable period in the energy industry due to energy transition, due to change of technologies, to continuation of different political processes. But we think that production level at this time will be still high. Maybe it will be gradually declining, but there will be a lot of work, I would say, for the oil and gas industry. And the digital project that started before and developed further, at this period of time, they will lead to massive development of artificial intelligence that would be widely applied in terms of forecasting and decision making in the oil and gas industry. So it will develop new professions, and it will change how we work, how we operate our fields. So this is also a very important trend. We think that at this period of time, there will be a launch of some new unmanned assets. And they will be assets with a high level of automation, robotization. Maybe just few people traveling on the fields from maybe once per 4 months, or maybe maybe more. So we believe that at this period of time, we will also see the more intensive development of technologies to develop unconventional fields, and especially Bajan oil formation. We think that there will be some economically feasible projects, but this also it's very important to mention that it will require hydraulic fracturing fleet development. Many oil fields will be at the late stage of production. That's why we think that EOR and IOR will develop at this time extensively. So, but at the same time, we will need to make intensive simulations requiring a lot of computational power and different complex software to support this kind of projects, to prove that they are economically feasible, economically profitable. But at this time, we think that our computational power and technology, IT information technology, they will allow us to make it. And also, very important thing that all new projects will be already planned as a part of a synergistic ecosystem that is happening already nowadays, but in this period of time it will be even more important. So that means that any project will be considered as a part of system of different other upstream, downstream, midstream projects, as well as part of the solution for partners in terms of carbon capture and storage. So there will be industrial clusters developed regionally, and this will make a project more complex, but at the same time they will be more flexible, more profitable, and this is a very important trend. And the latest projection is about what we will see until 2035. We call it long-term projection. And we think that energy mix transformation will take place in Russia more intensively. So we will see the results of this at this period of time. Oil production will be likely declining in Russia, but more actually we think that in the world the oil production will be declining, but in Russia it actually can even rise if we take some part of the oil market. At the same time, the trend that developed earlier about unmanned assets, it will develop further. So all the routine operations will be controlled with the AI-based software and different automation tools. We think that all prices at this period of time will be very high. Well, comparably to today's prices, because oil and gas projects at this time will have also high capex and opex, but maybe the demand will be lower, but actually the oil on the market will be also costly because of these capex and opex projections. We think that before this period of time, maybe there wouldn't be so visible renewable energy projects, but they will be actively developed at 30s. So and we think that blue hydrogen production will be very interesting for Russia, but probably we should develop a local infrastructure for this and local market. But we'll talk about this a bit later. As far as we talk about offshore and gas hydrolysis projects, we think that we will see the projects developing in these spheres at the late time of our forecast period, closer to 2035. But surely the technology should develop until this time, and this project should be competitive with what's happening onshore and on other resources. Analyze different information. We decided that probably there are two technologies that we should focus in Russia in terms of clean energy, because one is carbon capture storage, because it's rising blue ocean market, and we have actually strong competencies in geology, reservoir engineering, and integrated projects. So we can commercialize them, and also we can use existing assets. But there are some limitations to this, like underground storages that are far from industrial plants, and we are also very dependent on foreign equipment and services. We can say that hydrogen energy is very interesting to develop, and maybe it's a time to look for this opportunity, because this is also a rising market. And actually we have already a certain level of competencies at our refining business in hydrogen production, so we can develop on that. But we have uncertainty about development of internal market, because we don't have a internal strategy yet regarding the development of internal market, internal infrastructure, and our country are export oriented regarding the hydrogen energy at the moment. But focusing on this, we could develop this area of the industry. And the same, we have a limitation of dependency on foreign equipment and services, and we think that we should develop further our import substitution and develop our own solutions in the industry. So this is what we wanted to say, and as Yaroslava said, today we wanted more not only to tell you something about our forecast about the oil and gas industry, but more to discuss with you, to hear your opinion about many questions that we have now. And this uncertainty of the future is very high, but to be more competitive, to be in order for our industry to be more successful, we need to start think today to be ready for many things and to be successful tomorrow. So probably Yaroslav could help. So we probably could ask you a question with to make a small survey.
And the lunch is here, so you can just the participants, you can just vote for any preferable option. So please vote. I think we will give about maybe 1 minute for our participants to vote, right?
Yeah, sure.
Okay.
So it's just to warm up, and we would like to know what's your prediction about the pace of energy transition, because it is probably the most influential factor on the oil and gas industry. So please make your choice. So it would be interesting how fast we could develop energy transition and corresponding technologies in our country. So some of you live in our country. We have some foreign participants, and we welcome you to make your choice. Any opinion is welcomed. in this survey, only participants are voting. We organizers and presenters, we don't take part in this. So after this question, actually we would like to have a more live discussion with you and to hear from you personally.
I think we can enter our poll right now and view the results.
Yes, thank you.
So yeah, the results are shared. Yeah, I think you can see them.
Okay, interesting. Well, I think that most of the participants think that there will be a lot of activities in Russia, but more of them think that the pace of energy transition will be lower than world level. Okay, so this is interesting, and we will think about this, and maybe we'll use it in our future talks about this. If some of you would like to say some words about this, about your choice, you're welcome. Yaroslava, are we open for?
Yeah, we're open
to talk?
Yeah, and we have some kind of opinions in our chat, so you can see them, and I think you guys can discuss that. And again, if any of our participants would like to speak in voice, let me say so, please raise your hand, and we will turn on your microphone.
So we have an opinion from Rafael Islam-Muratov. He works in an international company and don't see big investment plans in Russian oil and gas projects. And the company invests in Guyana and Africa. And he has a question about, do you have any thoughts on why companies don't want to invest in Russian oil and gas industry? Well, let's discuss. I think that's the first priority factor is risk that investors perceive, and maybe there are some analytics regarding this. So every investor, they make their analysis using real figures, making projections. And I think that in terms of geopolitics, in terms of how international investors perceive our oil and gas industry, they think that it is unstable, that maybe there are different risks regarding to politics, and maybe also in regard to energy transition development. Some of the investors believe that the oil gas industry will be declining, and maybe it's not so interesting to invest. Well, what do you think about this? So actually, we are welcome for any opinion of any participant. Rafael, maybe you would like to say a few words about this. Okay, interesting. Some participants are working in control room right now. Okay, so let us discuss about your opinion about what would be the key elements, maybe key technology for Russian oil and gas industry today to develop. What should the industry focus on? So it would be interesting to hear from you, because maybe you have a different opinion. Maybe you have specific point of view that we didn't look at.
Artem,
Yes.
I want to add a comment about Guyana and African countries. So I think if we compare with Guyana and Africa, these countries has not competence in oil production like Russia, first of all. And Russia has enough competence to support and to remain our production by our own companies. And as I know, there are some projects of our production in Yamal and Gedan, in which Shell and Total are involved. For example, Arctic LNG and I don't know how it's named, in Gedan project where Shell also involved. That I can add for this question.
Dear participants, colleagues, friends, what are thoughts about key things, key technologies, maybe key opportunities for Russian oil and gas industry? Please don't hesitate to take the floor, to say some words. Well, I think we have different participants, some of them students, some of them already working professionals. So for many of us, I think one of the important questions, what will be the most important technology, maybe most important projects in the industry where I should put my attention, or where I should put my focus to be more successful. At the same time, we are, that many of us will be dependent on the oil and gas industry well-being. I would say that if the industry will decline, then actually we will not have so many opportunities to develop. And if we know that there are some key technologies to develop, that there are a chance to make more profitable oil and gas industry, then this is an opportunity for us as a specialists, at the same time for the industry to make the energy resources more profitable, to make people lives I would say happier, because we still have demand for oil and gas resources, and by many projections this demand will still rise. Any thoughts? I see maybe the audience is not so active today.
So I can add a comment about key technologies. I think for today, the key technology need for Russia is oil production flexibility. As you know, under the new OPEC plus quotas, we must to increase production very quickly, and it's not so easy. So that I think we need to increase technologies in tight oil production, for example, Bajan and Achimov to to be ready to increase production very quickly, like Saudi Arabia and United States, where there are some drilling and completion wells, and they can increase their production using this capacity. I think it's very important right now for Russia.
There are some technologies that would be key to open new resources. For example, we need to develop subsea technology to unlock some offshore resources, and we believe that this is not very easy process. So it's complicated process of development technology where different industries take part, where the project of development of such technology, they require partnerships, and they require a lot of research and a lot of R&D. But if they develop in the end of the day, in the end of our forecast period, we will see large projects coming on stream. But at the same time, we can actually see different storylines in the oil and gas industry that are developing. For example, Bajan oil formation development, offshore oil and gas industry development, unconventionals, maybe gas hydrates, and you know that technology can develop very fast, very intensively, if there are some disruptive technology inventions, or there are some certain success of some companies or some countries in specific projects. For example, if Japan and our specialists, maybe in partnership with them, would manage to make gas hydrates profitable, this would be a huge resources that Russia has for in terms of gas. And maybe the same kind of situation we have offshore, where also the similarity of this is we have to develop partnerships, we have to use international experience exchange, international technology and development endeavors. So I think that we should put focus on innovation, because now oil and gas industry is actually, it was always an innovative industry, but nowadays I think the developments, the change in technology is happening faster and faster. So we can see that many oil and gas companies, the company that we work for, they actually develop different business processes regarding technology development and intellectual property, intellectual rights. So it's important to organize a certain framework, how you develop technology, how you choose the most important projects for the company, because you still have a certain amount of budget that you should distribute between the different projects, and you should make optimum portfolio and to focus on technology that would give you more profit in the end of the day, that would unlock more resources that you are going to develop. So we would like to hear our participants, even if they want to give up some feedback for us, maybe what was interesting, maybe what they didn't hear, but they wanted to hear something and they didn't find in this webinar. So please, guys, just share your thoughts. Maybe you can share if you want to work in the oil and gas industry, but don't know how to choose your first steps, or just maybe how your technology or how your sphere of oil and gas business helps to develop our industry. It would be interesting to know. Well, we have some comments in the chat. Rafael is asking what we think about OPEC. Will it play significant role in changes to net zero in Russia? And how will education system change during these industry changes? Any thoughts? Ivan, maybe you'll be more qualified to answer about role of the OPEC. So let me start with the second question. I think that education system should change accordingly to the industry developments. So, and at this point, we see that students, graduates, they so from my opinion, from opinion of some of my colleagues, the students are lacking team working skills, lacking some analytical skills, skills of discussion of some specific topics in the group, because our education is classically developed to prepare good specialists in a certain narrow sphere, but at the same time, it doesn't develop you as a professional, as a part of the group, because you always work with people in the oil and gas company, and sometimes there are a lot of different groups of people which you communicate with. So it's a very important skill also. And I think at the moment we have a lot of partnerships of companies and academia in terms of education, but I think at the moment that our ties are not so strong. There are not so many projects as we would need to have in the industry, in the education regarding the oil and gas. So me personally, I'm participating in one educational project that is helping students to develop, to see their, to model their work in the future as a professional in oil and gas industry, and to know more about industry projects. Well, Ivan was probably disconnected. So regarding your question about OPEC, I think that OPEC will play significant role for sure, because it will influence the biggest influence is on prices, because the level of production depends on the OPEC agreements, and consequently we have prices change. So, and if we compare profitability of oil and gas projects and some green energy projects, at certain point we start to see green projects might be more interesting to develop, and we can see some profitable stories there. But if prices are high, if OPEC is working well, I would say, if we don't, if we have an agreement where our oil and gas industry, where Russian production is not very small, where we have certain percent of production that we agree with, and at the same time we continue with these agreements, so probably it can influence on the oil and gas industry positively. At the same time, it can maybe have some negative effects on energy transition pace. But if we develop strategy on the government level, so we could use some profits from oil and gas industry, some government budgets to invest into the greener technologies, and with the high enough prices and high enough profits, we could actually have more opportunity to invest into the green energy. That's then if we would have an opposite situation where we have low prices, for example, due to break of the OPEC agreement. So this is also can be a risk for oil and gas industry. So there is a good question from Rinat about the influence of the greenhouse gas emission law. It will surely influence on the oil and gas industry. Frankly speaking, we didn't analyze this in detail, but it will. I think it will end with some projects in oil and gas companies in Russia, and these projects would be not applied for oil and gas developments in Russia, for all oil and gas upstream projects, but only for some of them, where we would have the most concentration, the most carbon emission. So I think the company actually already started to develop a portfolio of projects with the focus on the most prominent areas where we could decrease the carbon emissions, at the same time invest in small amount of money. So the companies try to wait and to find a balance between investments, the amount of investments, and the influence they would have on the carbon emission reduction. So I think you're still welcome to take the floor. At the same time, I would like to ask Yaroslav to make our small story about your interest in this webinar. We would like to hear from you if it was interesting for you, if it was somehow interesting, maybe moderate, or it was something that you really expected and didn't find before. So please answer. Any opinion is welcome. It would help us to develop and to understand if it was interesting, if it should develop in the same way, or we should change something. So we give maybe 1 minute and then we'll see the results. At the same time, we welcome you to ask our questions after the webinar using the same contact information, or probably we can give you some email that you can write. Some of you maybe are connected today with not very good connection, and maybe it's hard to take the floor and say some words, but we are welcome. You're welcome to ask any questions or make any suggestions to us after this. Okay, so most of the participants think that our webinar was very interesting, and some of them, but a large part as well, 29%, they think that it was moderate. So we see that there are some interest in this topic, as I can understand, but we should develop our presentation to make this more informative and more interesting for you. Thank you very much. Thank you very much for your opinion and for your participation today.
Yes, and thank you for the speakers and for our participants. And thank you all guys for your questions. And thanks everyone for the discussions. Because some questions which were raised by the audience were very interesting. And I think maybe we should continue this into a series of webinars on the future forecast, and maybe some kind of a roundtable. So maybe again, open discussions, right? So because it's kind of interesting, and I see that many participants really voted that they are interested in that. And I think, yeah, we need to continue that.
Oh, thank you, Yaroslav. I think that we can discuss this and organize some kind of series and to ask maybe more speakers and to exchange our opinions. That would be an interesting kind of event.
Yeah, so let's see. And if anyone from our today's participants would like to be speaker here, if any of you guys have some kind of different opinions, and maybe we can just share something like debates between two parties, that will be really interesting. So please do not hesitate to contact us and maybe share some thoughts and maybe insights we can just discuss. So I think it will be very, very informative for our audience, and especially for young professionals and for students, and maybe even for future students. So I guess for today, we can just sum up everything, right? And look forward for our next webinar.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Yaroslav. Thank you for all the participants that we saw today.
Thank you very much. And for all the speakers and participants, again, thank you for your time. I hope you all really enjoyed this webinar. And I just want to wish you a very good week, a very good evening today, and see you pretty soon in our next webinar. So thank you and goodbye.
Goodbye.